Kelly Ripa has spent more than 2 decades sitting behind that famous live desk, charming morning television audiences with her quick wit and her willingness to say absolutely anything on camera. But this week, she pulled back the curtain on a story so wild, so genuinely dangerous, that fans couldn't believe it actually made it to air in the first place. The talk show queen revealed that her longtime executive producer, Michael Gelman, orchestrated a segment that put her literal safety at risk, all in the name of good television. And now, with the receipts pulled straight from the archives, the internet is buzzing about just how different daytime TV used to be before something called HR walked through the studio doors. This story is trending for a reason. It's not just a funny anecdote, it's a rare, candid admission from one of the most powerful women in daytime television about how far networks used to push their stars for a moment of entertainment. In an era where workplace safety and on-set accountability are constantly in the news, Kelly's confession lands as both hilarious and a little bit shocking. For those who haven't followed the live franchise closely, a quick refresher. Kelly Ripa first joined the show back in 2001, stepping into the co-host chair alongside Regis Philbin, and she has remained a fixture of morning television ever since, later co-hosting with Michael Strahan, then Ryan Seacrest, and now her real-life husband, Mark Consuelos. Behind the scenes the entire time has been Michael Gelman, the show's executive producer, a man who has held that position for an astonishing 28 years. Gelman isn't just a behind-the-scenes name either. Over the years, he's become something of a recurring character on the show himself, frequently the target of the host's jokes, jabs, and playful complaints, whether it's about his taste in sandwiches or his tendency to lurk just off camera. On more than one occasion, Kelly and Mark have publicly called out Gelman on air, once jokingly branding him a monster over his sandwich toppings, and another time roasting his lackluster performance in a Halloween costume skit. But this latest story wasn't about sandwiches or costumes. It dug into the show's history, all the way back to a segment that aired on April 5, 2012, one that Kelly says perfectly captured what she calls the wild, unregulated culture of early live. Back then, apparently, there was no HR department watching over the hosts, and Gelman, in her words, ran the ship with a level of recklessness that simply wouldn't fly on a modern television set. So here's exactly what happened. During a recent episode of Live with Kelly and Mark, Kelly revisited a story she'd apparently already teased the day before, about the time her producer pushed her into one of the most dangerous stunts of her broadcasting career. She told viewers that back in the day, Gelman used to run a genuinely reckless ship around the studio, joking that there was no such thing as HR watching over anyone back then. The segment in question was filmed on location in Banff, the picturesque mountain town in Alberta, Canada, known for its dramatic alpine scenery, ideal for a scenic winter television segment, but perhaps not ideal for what producers actually had planned. According to Kelly, Gelman took her up the mountain, got her drinking, and then once she was thoroughly buzzed, handed her 2 lit torches and instructed her to ski down the slope while holding them, all for the cameras. Kelly didn't hold back describing just how unsafe the whole thing was. She explained that at that point in her life, back in 2012, she wasn't yet the terrible skier she jokingly claims to be today. Instead, she says she was something far more concerning, a genuinely dangerous, reckless skier who could have easily hurt herself or anyone else on that mountain. And according to Kelly, when she raised those concerns to Gelman at the time, his response was simple and unbothered. He didn't care. The footage, in his eyes, was too good not to use, and so on to television it went. What made this particular retelling so compelling wasn't just Kelly's recollection. It was that producers actually pulled up the original footage from 2012 and played it live on the show for the current audience to see. Viewers got to witness, over a decade later, exactly what Kelly had been describing, a visibly unsteady Kelly Ripa gripping flaming torches while attempting to navigate her way down a mountain in the dark. Her husband Mark Consuelos, who was present on the mountain that night, jumped into the conversation to back up just how chaotic the whole scene really was. He recalled warning his wife to be careful heading down the hill, only to be met with an irritated, slurred response essentially telling him not to tell her what to do. Mark went on to explain that he ended up skiing down directly behind Kelly that night, not for the view, but because he was actively trying to block other people and traffic from getting anywhere near her uncontrolled descent. Kelly added one more detail that made the whole situation even more alarming. She revealed that the camera crew's lighting setup left her essentially blinded during the descent, with a bright camera light shining directly into her face in the pitch darkness. Somewhat jokingly, she noted that being totally unaware of your surroundings is apparently, according to her own logic at the time, the best way to ski well. It's the kind of comment that gets a laugh in the studio, but also underscores just how little regard there seemingly was for basic safety protocols on that shoot. As soon as clips and write-ups of Kelly's story began circulating, entertainment outlets and fans alike jumped on it. Longtime viewers of Live weren't entirely shocked, given the show's long history of chaotic, off-the-cuff moments involving Gelman, but many were. Still stunned that a network would allow a visibly intoxicated host to ski down a mountain holding open flames for a television segment. The story quickly became a talking point across entertainment news circles, largely because it plays into a broader cultural conversation happening right now about workplace safety standards, both on television sets and in professional environments generally. Some fans found the whole thing hilarious, pointing out that this is exactly the kind of unfiltered, slightly unhinged energy that made early 2010s daytime television so entertaining to watch. Others were more critical, questioning why producers would ever put a host in that kind of physical danger purely for the sake of a segment, regardless of how entertaining the resulting footage turned out to be. Either way, the resurfaced clip generated exactly the kind of buzz that morning shows love, driving conversation, clicks, and plenty of debate about how times and workplace regulations really have changed. Despite the seriousness of the incident itself, it's worth noting that the tone throughout Kelly's retelling remained largely comedic. She wasn't expressing any lingering resentment toward Gelman, and in fact the two are widely known to share a close, long-standing relationship despite their many on-air spats over the years. This wasn't Kelly dragging her producer through the mud. It was more of an affectionate, if slightly incredulous, look back at just how far the old guard of daytime television was willing to go for a good moment on screen. So why does a decade-old skiing stunt suddenly matter now? For one, it says a lot about how dramatically workplace culture and television has shifted since the early 2010s. Kelly's own framing of the story, repeatedly emphasizing the absence of HR oversight back then compared to now, speaks directly to a broader industry-wide reckoning that's taken place over the past several years. Productions across Hollywood and network television have faced increasing scrutiny over on-set safety, particularly following several high-profile incidents across the industry that resulted in real, tragic consequences. In that context, a story like this, even told with humor, subtly reinforces just how much has changed, and arguably needed to change, in how networks treat the physical safety of their talent. It's also a reminder of just how much unscripted, borderline chaotic content used to define daytime television's appeal. Shows like Live built their brand on spontaneity, and hosts willing to do just about anything for a laugh or a viral moment. Kelly's willingness to revisit this story now, decades into her career, shows she's still comfortable being the one to pull back the curtain on that era, even when it paints the show's beloved producer in a slightly reckless light. For Michael Gelman specifically, this story only adds to his already colorful reputation among live viewers as the producer who's constantly caught in the crosshairs of Kelly and Mark's on-air banter. Rather than damaging his image, stories like this one tend to humanize him, positioning him as a lovable, if occasionally chaotic, fixture of the show's identity. Given how well this story landed with audiences, don't be surprised if Liv leans further into these kinds of nostalgic, behind-the-scenes throwbacks in future episodes. Kelly has proven time and again that some of her most engaging on-air moments come from unfiltered storytelling about the show's chaotic history, and producers know that audiences eat this content up. With over 2 decades of archived footage sitting in the vault, there's likely no shortage of similarly wild stories waiting to be rediscovered and shared with a new generation of viewers. It also wouldn't be surprising to see Gelman himself respond to this story directly on a future episode, whether to defend his choices from over a decade ago or to simply lean into the joke alongside Kelly and Mark. Given the show's history, a lighthearted on-air rebuttal from Gelman seems almost inevitable. At the end of the day, this is a story that perfectly captures what made, and honestly still makes, Kelly Ripa's version of daytime television so captivating? A blend of genuine candor, a little bit of chaos, and just enough self-awareness to laugh at how absurd it all sounds now. What started as a segment meant to entertain viewers back in 2012 has resurfaced as a fascinating snapshot of just how much has changed behind the scenes of American morning television, one flaming torch, one mountain, and one very reckless producer at a time. So what do you think? Was this just harmless, old-school television chaos, or does this story cross the line into genuinely concerning territory? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown of Kelly Ripa's wildest on-air confession yet, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more of the entertainment news you actually care about.